You may have been wondering why the cost of rent, so renting a house, renting an apartment, just keeps going up and up month after month and doesn't look like there's any end in sight. So stay with me. This is going to be a little longer video, but I'm going to give you all the reasons that I see why rent is going up. And you may not agree with all of them, but you'll certainly understand what's happening after you hear what we're dealing with. So number one is we're getting a lot of people coming into Knox County, Central Ohio from surrounding areas, especially Columbus, because they're not finding a rental in Columbus at a fair price. Over there, it's not uncommon for a $1,500 to $2,000 or even $2,500 rental per month. So they come up in our area, it looks like a better value in their eyes, and they snap it up right away. And as soon as they do, then that rental is no longer available for someone from our community to rent it. So supply is low, demand is extremely high. The other thing, and most of you aren't thinking about this, but the average age of our elderly is longer and longer, meaning they're living longer and they're staying in their homes longer. Now, the fact that they're staying in their homes longer means, number one, the house isn't getting sold as frequently or as early in life as they used to, because when the average age was mid-60s, and now we have a lot of people living into their 80s and beyond, and they're trying to stay in their house as many years as they possibly can. That's their place of comfort. So the houses aren't coming on the market as frequently, and that also contributes to a low supply of available homes to buy and to rent, and because they're staying in the homes much longer. Now, with low supply means higher pricing, and the landlord can get a higher price because if you don't rent it, someone else probably will. Houses and apartments, and then the top tier apartments, the nicer, newer apartments, are bringing a lot more rent than the traditional apartments. We're even seeing like traditional old 2-story homes where they've split them up into apartments where it's like a duplex, up and down duplex. It's not uncommon to see a apartment in a duplex at $1,000 a month or higher. And it wasn't that long ago that you would see them for $600 or $650, but the pricing just keeps going up. Now, you may be thinking the landlord is just trying to gouge you, but that's really not what's happening in most cases. One of the things that's happening is the cost of real estate taxes has gone up almost 40% over the last 3 years. So the landlord's cost each month is now higher, so they're passing that cost on to you. Homeowners insurance over the last 4 years has almost doubled, and so the landlord has to pay insurance, so obviously they have to charge that back to the tenant, and it has to be covered, 1/12 of that each month in the rent is added into the rent. They may not charge you for it, but it's billed into the rent. So as the insurance rate and the real estate taxes go up, your rent has to go up to compensate for that, because the landlord's not in business to give money away. They're in business to break even or make a profit. Obviously, the goal would be to make a profit. Another issue that's happening is there are corporate investors, and you've probably heard about this, where investors are buying large blocks of rentals and large blocks of houses and making them into rentals. Even single-family residential homes in neighborhoods and subdivisions where our parents and our grandparents lived, investors are buying them and making them into rentals. And so those are taking those properties off the market where they're not available to you and I, and that's driving up costs as well. Also, just overall inflation costs for your landlord to put a roof on the house. The roof cost has gone way up. Vinyl siding cost has gone way up. If they have to fix the driveway, the material cost for that, way up. If it needs a new furnace or a new air conditioner or new flooring. With inflation that we've been seeing that's been running anywhere, say 10% a year, you're pretty much guaranteed that the normal rate increase is going to have to be at least 10% a year just for the landlord to break even. And that doesn't even factor into account how much real estate taxes and homeowners insurance are going up as well. Also, and this is something you may not have thought of, but 3 years ago, the interest rates were in the 3s and 4s, and most investors who have rentals, they can't get an owner-occupied mortgage because they're not living in it. They have to take a commercial loan, and the majority of the commercial loans are on variable rate mortgages. So if the rates were, they originally bought the property at 3%, and now that rate is somewhere around 7 or 8% or higher, their monthly payment to the bank has gone way up. And so they're going to have to pass that cost on. So cost of maintenance, I mentioned, is higher. Repairs are higher. The cost to get rid of a bad tenant, or a tenant that decides they're not paying anymore and they just stay in the house and wait to be evicted, that process can take 30 to 60 days to get rid of a bad tenant. And that's assuming after you get them out that they haven't destroyed the apartment or left a mess. And if they do, even though it takes them 2 months where the landlord's not getting any money out of the property for that 2 months, then he has to turn around and pay an attorney to get rid of the bad tenant. And then he probably has to go in and replace all the carpet, repaint the inside, and who knows what else. So there are those cases where the bad tenants are making it more expensive for the good tenants. And the other thing is, obviously getting background checks, credit reports on tenants now is becoming very common because the landlord doesn't want to go in knowing he's got a bad tenant. He wants to get a good tenant where they're not going to be moving out. And I see a lot of comments online about, well, if the landlord would just charge less money in rent, he would keep his tenant. It's not that simple, because if you want rent at $750 a month and the landlord's cost is $1,050 to break even, you're not going to be able to rent that place for $750 a month just because it's your budget. The landlord has to charge what he's got to charge in order to make it, cash flow, even to cover just the basics. Because when an apartment goes empty, he's eating it out of his pocket. So anyway, these are some of the real reasons that the cost of rent has gone up so much. And with some of the new apartments that you guys probably know that's being built here in Knox County, the majority of those, from what I'm hearing, are probably in that $1,300 to $1,400 a month range or higher. And when that happens and those units become available, it will probably raise the average price up again, because when they have those brand new units starting at that price, like in Columbus, a lot of the neighborhoods for apartment buildings are starting at like $1,300 to $1,400 for a 1-bedroom apartment, some with 2-bedroom that are in that range. And they go clear up to, like I said, $2,000, $2,500. So that's coming our way. So the idea that if you think rent is going to come down, I don't think that's going to happen in the near future. Rent, if you look back over time, it keeps going up as the cost to live goes up. So I apologize for such a long video, but I thought this would make a lot of sense for you to hear some of the reasons why. And I totally get it. I mean, everyone can only afford so much a month. And that's the thing you have to be careful of, is as there become fewer and fewer available homes to rent, there's becoming more apartments, but fewer and fewer homes to rent, the cost to rent a home is probably going to keep going up and up over time. So there will be a point where renting a house will be out of the price range of a lot of local people if we're not careful. So if you got questions, add a comment down below. Always feel free to give us a call, 740-397-7800. I'm Sam Miller, Remax Stars Realty. I just thought this would be helpful for you to know what's happening in the rental market, because we're hearing a lot of buzz about people are like, I just can't believe how high the rents are going. And I totally understand, but these are some of the reasons why they've bumped up as much as they have. Have a good one. Bye.